Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about some seriously cool Washington quarters, the top 7 that could be worth a ton of money, like thousands or even tens of thousands. Some of these coins have crazy minting errors or just really rare circumstances that make them so valuable. Stick around, because you might just find one of these gems hiding in your collection or change. Let's kick things off with the 1986 Washington quarter. Now, you might be thinking, 1986. Isn't that relatively recent? Well, it is. But there's a twist. This quarter, with a P mint mark, can fetch up to $43,000. Yeah, you heard that right, $43,000. And you're probably asking, why in the world is this coin worth so much? The answer lies in a minting error, which is exactly what makes it so valuable. So, what's the deal with this particular quarter? Most of the Washington quarters minted in 1986 came from Philadelphia, which is why they carry the P mint mark. But here's where it gets interesting. While the majority of these coins were struck with the usual design, a very tiny fraction of them had a mistake that set them apart from the rest. It's one of those rare errors that, when found, instantly makes a coin stand out. Essentially, a mistake during production gave these quarters a feature that's extremely hard to find in circulation. Think of it like this: imagine you've got a whole bunch of quarters from 1986, and they all look the same, nothing special. Then, out of nowhere, you come across one that's different. It might look almost identical at first glance, but it's actually part of a very rare batch with a specific flaw or error in the design. That error is what makes it incredibly valuable to collectors. Now, this kind of thing happens more often than you might think in the world of coin collecting. Minting errors, where something goes a little off during the production process, are one of the key factors that make certain coins worth so much more than their face value. And when a coin is as rare as this 1986 Washington quarter with its unique feature, that's when the price tag skyrockets. Collectors go absolutely wild for these kinds of errors. They're on the lookout for anything that stands out from the regular production run. And that's exactly what makes the 1986 Washington quarter with a P mint mark so sought after. It's the rarity of that specific mistake that has caused prices to soar, with some of these quarters fetching tens of thousands of dollars at auction. Now, if you happen to stumble upon one of these while going through your change or sifting through a collection, you're looking at a potential goldmine. That seemingly ordinary quarter could end up being worth far more than just 25 cents, potentially turning a simple coin into an absolute treasure. So, if you've got a sharp eye for detail, keep an eye out for the 1986 Washington quarter. You just might find a jackpot in the most unexpected place. Let's jump back in time to 1965. This year is especially important because it marks a huge shift in U.S. coinage history. In 1965, the government decided to change the composition of the quarter, moving away from silver and opting for a copper-nickel blend instead. This change was a big deal. It didn't sit well with everyone. Silver had been part of U.S. coinage for centuries, and collectors weren't exactly thrilled about the transition. But here's where things get interesting. Many collectors were on the lookout for something special from this period, something that might make up for the loss of silver. That's when we get to the 1965 Washington quarter, with no mint mark. Now, most of the 1965 quarters were minted with a D mint mark for Denver or didn't have a mint mark at all, indicating they were produced in Philadelphia. But here's the kicker: some of these quarters were accidentally struck without any mint mark, and that mistake is what makes them so valuable today. You see, mint marks are a key feature on U.S. coins. The mint mark tells you where the coin was produced, either in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. And while most 1965 quarters were supposed to have either a D for Denver or no mint mark for Philadelphia, some were struck without any mint mark at all. This rare error caught the attention of collectors, and it's what gives these particular coins their high value. The reason this error is so valuable is because of its rarity. Out of the millions of 1965 Washington quarters minted, only a very small fraction ended up with no mint mark. This tiny detail makes the coin highly sought after, and if you're lucky enough to come across one of these, you could be looking at a coin worth anywhere from $20,000 to $22,000. Now, the reason for the mistake is still a bit of a mystery. Some experts believe that a mix-up at the minting facility could have led to the omission of the mint mark, while others think it may have been a result of the production process during that period. Regardless of the reason, the fact remains that this small error created a coin that is now worth a lot of money. So, if you're ever sifting through your change or going through a collection and come across a 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark, take a closer look. It could be worth far more than its face value, and you might just have yourself a rare piece of U.S. history that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. Now, let's fast forward to 1992. It's a bit of a jump, right? But trust me, there's a very good reason why the 1992 Washington quarter with a D mint mark is one of the most sought-after coins out there. You might be thinking, 1992, nothing too special about that year. I mean, it's not like it's from a distant, long-ago time. But here's the thing, there's actually a minting error that's turned this particular coin into a real gem in the eyes of collectors. So, what happened with the 1992 Washington quarter? Well, it all boils down to an issue in the minting process. A certain batch of 1992 quarters came out with a major flaw. These coins were struck with a double die error, meaning the design on the coin was doubled. This doubling creates a noticeable shift in the details, where parts of the design appear to be out of alignment or have a blurry, doubled effect. Now, you might think, how can something like that make a coin worth so much? Well, for collectors, a double die error is one of those mistakes that's actually highly prized. It's like finding a hidden treasure in a sea of regular, mass-produced coins. Double die errors don't happen very often, which makes them a rarity, and rare coins always have high demand in the market. Collectors are always on the lookout for these, and when they find one, they're willing to pay top dollar for it. And we're talking about serious money here, depending on the condition of the coin and the rarity of the error. Some of these 1992 Washington quarters with the double die have been known to sell for up to $38,000. That's a huge jump from its original face value of just 25 cents. What makes this even more interesting is that, unlike other minting errors, this one is relatively easy to spot if you know what to look for. The doubled image is visible in key areas like the lettering, the date, and the details around Washington's face. If you're ever going through your quarters and notice some strange doubling or blurry features on a 1992 with a D mint mark, take a closer look. It might be the kind of error that turns a simple coin into a small fortune. For many collectors, finding a 1992 double die Washington quarter is like striking gold. The rarity of the error and the value it can command make it one of those coins that can completely transform someone's collection, and potentially their bank account. Next, let's travel back to 1969, a year that many coin collectors know very well because of some seriously rare minting errors. The 1969 Washington quarter, particularly the ones without a mint mark, is one of those coins that could be sitting in your collection or even in your pocket change, and it could be worth a staggering $50,000. Yes, $50,000. So, what makes this 1969 Washington quarter so valuable? The answer lies in a special error during the minting process. Just like some of the other rare coins we've talked about, this quarter was struck with a unique flaw. But here's the thing. This rare 1969 quarter didn't get its high value just from any ordinary mistake. No, this one was part of a batch that experienced a misalignment during the minting process. This misalignment gave the coin a distinct characteristic that's immediately noticeable to collectors. The details on the coin were off-center, creating a visual effect that sets it apart from a typical quarter. It's one of those mistakes that might not catch your eye immediately, but when you know what you're looking for, it's like spotting a hidden gem. You see, these kinds of errors aren't all that common. The misalignment meant that the coin was struck with the dies not properly lined up, which caused the image to appear off-kilter or shifted. For many collectors, that small flaw is exactly what makes the coin so special. It's not just another quarter, it's a coin with a story to tell and a piece of history that's incredibly rare. Finding one of these 1969 Washington quarters can be like finding a treasure in the most unexpected places. While they're rare, they do pop up occasionally in circulation or from collections, and when they do, they are often snapped up by collectors who know exactly what they've found. The demand for coins with minting errors like this one is high, and it's not unusual for them to fetch prices that blow away their face value by tens of thousands of dollars. And here's something to keep in mind. The 1969 Washington quarter without a mint mark isn't the only coin from that era with minting issues. But what makes this particular one so desirable is how unique the misalignment error is. A slight shift in the image can mean a major increase in value, and for collectors, that's the difference between a regular coin and something that's absolutely worth adding to their collection. Now, let's talk about the 1979 Washington quarter. When most people think of valuable coins, they usually don't jump straight to something from the 1970s. But this particular 1979 quarter is definitely one to keep on your radar. You see, the 1979 Washington quarter without a mint mark can actually fetch up to $29,000, yes, $29,000. So, what makes this quarter so valuable? Well, it comes down to another case of a minting error, specifically, a die crack. A die crack is a flaw that happens during the minting process. Essentially, it occurs when there's a crack or break in the die used to strike the coin. Normally, these cracks are tiny, but when they appear, they leave an impression on the coin that shouldn't be there, basically a unique mark that sets the coin apart from others. This flaw creates a visible crack on the coin's surface, often running through the design or lettering. While it might seem like a simple mistake, collectors actually go crazy for these kinds of errors because they make the coin unique. The 1979 Washington quarter with a die crack is a perfect example of how something small can create a major value boost. When this flaw happens, it's not just any ordinary coin, it's a piece of minting history. The die crack gives it a distinctive, almost one-of-a-kind feature that other coins from the same year don't have. It's like finding a fingerprint on a coin, something that makes it stand out in a sea of perfectly struck quarters. So why does this make the 1979 Washington quarter so valuable? Well, collectors are always hunting for rare, unique features like a die crack. They're especially drawn to these errors because, once they're discovered, it's almost impossible to find another one exactly like it. This rarity is what drives the price up. With only a limited number of 1,979 quarters showing this type of error, they're in high demand, and that drives the value through the roof. And it's not just about having a 1979 quarter. It's about finding that specific one with the die crack. If you happen to find one, you're looking at a coin that could become a major investment. Whether it's in your pocket change or in an old collection you've inherited, don't overlook this one. It's a reminder that even coins from the 1970s can be packed with value, if you know where to look. Now, let's head back to 1967, a year with some serious history, especially for coin collectors. The 1967 Washington quarter, with no mint mark, can be worth an impressive $55,000 to $60,000. That's a big jump from its 25-cent face value, right? So, what makes this coin so expensive? It all comes down to another minting error, this time, a double strike. So, what exactly is a double strike? Well, it happens when a coin is struck by the dies not just once, but twice. During the minting process, the coin is supposed to be struck only one time to create the design. But in the case of the 1967 Washington quarter, the coin was struck a second time, and that's what caused the doubling effect. The result? A noticeable distortion and doubling of the design, which is visible on the coin. The most common areas where you'll see the doubling are the lettering and the details of Washington's face. You can spot the error because the design looks blurry, with certain parts appearing to be shifted or duplicated. This creates a very unique look for the coin, one that's easy to identify once you know what you're looking for. The double strike is a rare minting mistake, and that's exactly why these coins are so valuable. When a double strike happens, it's often caused by a misalignment during the production process, where the coin is struck again before it's fully ejected from the press. This mistake can result in a coin with a really unique look, but also one that's very hard to find. For collectors, this rarity is what drives the value of the coin so high. A double strike isn't something you see every day, and that's what makes it a special find for anyone lucky enough to come across one. Now, finding a 1967 Washington quarter with a double strike isn't something that happens very often. While it's possible you might spot one in circulation or in a collection, the chances of finding one are slim. The rarity of this minting error is why these coins can sell for such high amounts, anywhere from $55,000 to $60,000, depending on the condition and exact nature of the error. That's why collectors keep their eyes peeled for coins from this era, especially when they spot something unusual or out of the ordinary. A 1967 Washington quarter with a double strike is more than just a coin, it's a rare piece of U.S. history. For collectors, it's one of those treasures that turns a simple quarter into a valuable collectible. If you happen to find one, you're not just holding onto a coin, you're holding onto something that could be worth a small fortune. And finally, let's talk about the 1974 Washington quarter, specifically the ones without a mint mark. This coin is one of the most sought after, and for good reason. It can be worth anywhere from $67,000 to $72,000, depending on its condition. So, what makes this quarter so special? It's all about a rare minting error that sets it apart from the rest. The 1974 quarter is known for having a particularly large die crack, which is a flaw that happens during the minting process. A die crack occurs when there's a break or crack in the coin's die, and as the coin is struck, that crack leaves an impression on the surface. In this case, the die crack on the 1974 quarter is large and highly visible, which makes it stand out immediately. For collectors, this kind of error is a goldmine. A die crack, especially one as pronounced as this one, gives the coin a unique characteristic that you just can't find on regular, non-error coins. It's one of those rare mistakes that actually makes the coin more valuable, not less. This large die crack runs through parts of the design, distorting the image and creating a noticeable break in the usual smooth lines and lettering. So, why is the 1974 Washington quarter with a die crack so rare and valuable? Well, die cracks don't happen often, and when they do, they usually don't make it onto many coins. Minting errors like this one are usually caught early in the process and corrected, which means only a small number of coins end up being struck with such an error. In the case of the 1974 quarter, even fewer of them have survived in good condition. Most of these error coins are worn down from circulation, but those in better shape, particularly the ones that show the die crack clearly, can fetch top dollar at auctions and among collectors. The fact that fewer than a handful of these coins remain in good condition is what really drives up the price. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for rare and unique pieces, and a 1974 Washington quarter with a large die crack is one of those coins that every serious collector wants to add to their collection. With so few of them left, the competition to own one is fierce, and that's why prices can reach as high as $72,000 for the best preserved specimens. Conclusion. There you have it, the top 7 most expensive and ultra-rare Washington quarters that could be worth way more than you'd expect. If you've got any of these in your collection, it might be time to get them appraised. Who knows, you might have a hidden treasure sitting right under your nose. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or exciting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin. Until next time, keep hunting and happy collecting.